You already have to add, but what do you replace it with?
What'd you do?
You'll put your ASL and that. I'm doing ESL 8th grade,
Still getting movement. I hate this stupid block that we have on YouTube. It's killing me. I don't know if you've ever done this like this, but thanks for volunteering. Well, not volunteering, for accepting to be filmed.
It's okay.
That's,
I did a commercial once. It ran during the Jeopardy hour.
Wow.
ooh.
And then I failed miserably out of medical school.
Oh, I was gonna say.
I was on the. They put me on the back of for this ad campaign. They put me on the back of the SEPTA buses, Southeast Philadelphia Transit Authority buses.
Yeah.
And so my joke is they put me on the bus and then they threw me under the bus. It was a physician assistant program. I don't know if I was telling you anything about that.
It sounds familiar. Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit.
What was your last?
No, my. I thought you were gonna say I was 5. You know, so it really.
No,
didn't
no, I was
matter.
30-ish at the time. It was a few years ago.
It's amazing how fast it goes by, isn't it?
It sure is. It's ridiculous.
City Riverton. This should be.
So I'm going to be talking about some usernames and passwords. There's kids around here, so I don't know how much we want to talk loud about that this time, because they could get in. Not that they would,
But there's
always
a
cautious.
possibility.
I'm always cautious about everything.
Okay.
Boot 'em?
Should we clear them out real quick?
Yeah. Do you want all the kids out or just the ones that are close by?
Probably the close by ones. Yeah. Hey guys, we're gonna ask you. Can you go to another computer? Can you go to the far ones over there?
Yeah.
Okay, we are live.
Okay.
Okay. We're ready to go.
Filming it in both.
Yeah. Well, this is what's being filmed.
Filmed. Oh, okay.
So it's got about a 30-second delay. So I'm saying you tell me basically the passwords and whatnot. So hey, we can edit anything if needs be.
You want me to just go ahead and start talking?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do this.
All right. So first of all, I appreciate you guys being here today. Usually what I like to do is talk a little bit about what you already know about Imagine Learning, and if you do know something about it, what is your current plan as to how you're going to implement it in the classrooms. So what do you know, and tell me what is your role here, and I'll tell you what my role is.
I'm the school librarian. I know nothing about Imagine.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
I don't know.
You know enough that you and I were able to deploy it and get everything up and running. Kevin?
I know about it, that it's going to help the ESL kids, but that's about it, kind of.
All right, so let me give you a little bit of history first and a little bit of background about what my role is here, and I'll be able to support you guys. So, Imagine Learning, we just hit our 10-year mark, and over the last 10 years we've been working really hard to develop our curriculum. So anytime we have high schools come on board, generally speaking, it's for students who are brand newcomers or pretty low ESL kids. Now we serve as 4 populations of students. We have students who are ELL students, or ESL, whatever your term is for them here. So English as a second language. Students who are students with disabilities, students who are struggling readers, and then the brand new readers like kindergarten, preschool, kindergarten, first grade. Our curriculum's the strongest up to about 3rd grade, and then we have intervention material that goes up to about a 6th grade, with our highest Lexile reading being about a 1030. So about 6th grade Lexile materials. But, I mean, think about our ESL kids who are just now getting started or trying to get some of those foundational skills. We pretty much transitioned from BICS. Do you guys remember that? the terminology BICS versus
Yes.
CALC. BICS, basic interpersonal communication skills. Like when I learned to speak Spanish, my first thing I learned was "Donde está el baño?" But after that, it was "Me llamo Jeff." I say "jefe" to my wife, but she knows now that that means boss. But the things like "How's the weather?" and "How are you?" just general, what teachers generally call playground language. And then it moves on to the cognitive academic language proficiency. So all of the academic language moving through very basic to domain-specific vocabulary. About 5 years ago, we obtained a state contract which allowed us to provide licenses for any and all ELL students, which is fantastic. It opens up the doors for many, many, many children to be served, for anywhere from the elementary schools all the way to the high schools. Now, we even go a little bit of a step further and say, if you've got ESL kids, chances are you've got ESL parents too. So we will typically allow the parents of these students to get on and use the program. So if you want to lobby for getting at-home access, you need to talk to the IT department. In some districts, we have it opened up. We have the ports opened up and everything set up to be able to access from home, and the students can get extra time spent on the program because oftentimes the resources are limited, time is limited, and it just opens up a lot more of a chance for the kids to get the time needed to progress through the product. So my role is I'm an educational support consultant. Basically what I do is I work with about 200 schools throughout the Salt Lake Valley, including going out to Tooele. And I go around and I talk with teachers, principals, alternative language services directors, and people from all different walks of the school life, and I train them how to use our product effectively, and I help come up with solutions to provide other ways for the kids to get on, like at-home access, like using when we are able to move to our new version, using the iPads, which will be the full curriculum on there as well, and they can transition back and forth between the different devices just fine. I've been with Imagine Learning for about 4 years, a little over 4 years now. I originally started on the East Coast. I was in Delaware, and I've covered an area from Virginia to Maine with only about 145 schools or so. And so to come here, to have geographically a much smaller area and more schools that are all compact and nice and close together, it's kind of nice. I can effectively get to 4, 5, 6, 7 schools in a day if need be, which is kind of nice. And generally speaking, if you have an issue with something or you need to meet with me to have additional training, you can call me and I can more than likely be there that same week. And it's pretty flexible, so it's nice. Let me give you my contact information now. It is my name is Jeff Stobart, S-T-O-B-A-R-T. My email is jeff.stobart, S-T-O-B-A-R-T, @imaginelearning.com. And my cell phone is 801-368-6202. If anything, when I walk...
Teachers, if you are participating in the Imagine Learning training, it is happening right now in the Media Center. If you're an ESL endorsed teacher, if you have a minute, it would be nice to sit in on that and listen to this new product. Thank you.
If anything, when I walk away from here, you have my email address, you have my phone number, you can text me, you can call me, you can email me. Just know that I'm very approachable. You can contact me anytime for anything, any questions, comments, concerns, whatever. We are very service oriented and want you to, it's really all about the kids, so we want to make sure that they are getting what they need. So generally speaking, what happens is I come in, I worked with Dave. I should remember that's my dad and my brother. I worked with Dave. Dave and I were able to go around and deploy the Imagine Learning shortcut on the desktop, and if you log in, you'll see here's the little red and blue jumping guy. That is the way in which you will access the program. When you double click on the Imagine Learning shortcut, which I've already done, it brings us to a login page. I I need to let you also be aware if you're using Google Chrome at all on any of the devices. Did you see that whole mess that happened with them stopping supporting when they went to
Yes.
version 42? Did you see that? Okay.
Mhm.
Some schools were affected by that. In that case, there is a workaround, which we don't know how long that'll be valid, but for a while it will be. Which brings me to our help desk is pretty good, and I should probably give you that contact information too. 866-457-8776. So they should be able to help with pretty much any issues that potentially could arise. Okay, so both of you are at what we call our landing page here for students to log in. What you'll notice is right now we have a teacher account called Riverton High. That little teacher account represents a container for students to be in. Once we create student accounts, they'll be added into that container, and it'll open up and you'll be able to see each of the student accounts. They'll click on their name and then subsequently put in their credentials, just their password. In the new version, all of this goes away and all we have is a login page. So that is something that we're going to look forward to. The management will be basically the same once you're logged in, but the teacher's account login and
Students, this is just a friendly reminder that I need all the cars removed from the
Sorry,
north side of the
welcome to
building.
Riverton
Anything
High.
that is in the driving range will be towed away. I understand we do have a couple
I'm
cars
not in the
there. We
driving
have about
range.
3 minutes to remove them,
I'm
or
not
they
from
will be
Utah,
towed
so
away
when
and
people
fixed.
tell me,
Thank
oh
you.
yeah, go east, west, north, south, I'm like, why don't I get my GPS or my compass out and figure out which way I'm going here? Somebody said the first thing I had to get a grasp on was this whole point of the mountain thing.
Yeah.
Once I figured out what the point of the mountain was, I was like, okay, I can do that. And then I walk into an elementary school one day and I said, oh, I'm here to see Mrs. Jones or whatever. Oh yeah, she's down the hall. You need to head east once you get to. And I said, oh, hold on a second. I do have my compass with me. I'm in a building. I understand the mountains.
Yeah.
The whole orient yourself by the mountains. But once I'm in a building, I couldn't tell you which way is
Is
north,
north,
south,
south.
west, east here. Okay, so back to what we're talking about here. So as students are added in, once we click on the container, it'll be populated by all of the representative pictures. And it could be whatever you choose as the picture. Again, once we go to the next version, that's all going to go away. It'll be a single login page, and they won't have any of this. The login will look the same for the teachers as well as the students. Now, currently, the students would click somewhere here on their account. Right now, the administrators will click on Manager Login up in the upper right-hand corner. Once we click on that, you'll see, you ever watch Netflix?
Yeah.
Silverlight ramps up and gets ready to go. The account name for this is going to be, make sure I have that right. Perfect. So that was Riverton High is the username, and then Imagine Learning, all one word, no spaces, no capitalization or anything, is the password. Okay, perfect. So what we can see when we log in, and Kevin, is it better to do it right here on this machine, or would we want to turn to the front here?
It might be easier to be
You
up
wanna
there.
switch up to here?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Could you mind, Michelle? Where's the lights?
You want to turn them off?
Yeah.
Oh, can I yell?
Yeah.
Hey, Jill, can you turn off some of the lights back here so we can see the screen better?
Numbers are still going.
Okay, first let me ask you, how much time do we have, Kevin?
As much as you need.
Okay.
Are we looking at what, half hour, hour?
Well, I can go as fast as you need me to go.
I gotta get Max before 4.
Before 4, so
Okay.
half an hour or more.
Okay, perfect. Let's just keep rolling then. Okay, what we'll notice here is when we get logged in, there are two different types of administrative accounts. One is a teacher role, and one is an administrator role. When we're logged in as an administrator, we can see all of the students who are loaded up in this school. When we log in as a teacher, you will only see the students who are added to your class. So if I were a teacher and I was responsible for 10 students, I would probably want to make myself a teacher role and only have to worry about looking at those students in my account. but it really depends on who is managing the students going forward. If you're managing the students, you would definitely want to have the administrator role. If you need to be able to access all of the reports that we have, you would want to be the administrator role, whereas the teacher role would only have access to the reports for those students in their My Students container. Okay?
No, beautiful.
So what we're looking at here, and I always like to start at the bottom, and we can see that while logged in as an administrator, we have organizations as well as users. When we log in as the teacher role, those go away, and all we see under setup is the students, okay, which gives us access to move students around and create new students, add them from within the district, because we are attached to the database that is district-wide. ESL students typically can be very transient, so they might have been at another school prior to coming here, and they might leave after being here for a couple months. We just never know. So they are able to transition from school to school, not district to district, but within the school they would be, or within this district they would be able to move to different locations.
Perfect.
So organization has already been created. Under users, whoever is going to be administering each of the accounts and creating accounts, what we like to do is standardize the accounts. The accounts need to be unique throughout the district. So remind me, what is your name again?
Michelle.
Michelle what?
Miles.
Michelle Miles. Okay, we have Michelle Miles here. What is your email address, Michelle?
Michelle.miles@jordandistrict.org.
That would be the perfect username for Imagine Learning. It's actually what we recommend, and we know that there's not going to be two of those within the district, so it's not going to be duplicated.
Can we download our teachers' email addresses in already?
We can bulk create student accounts and add them to the teacher accounts. With this version, we're not going to be able to bulk create
the teacher accounts.
Right.
Okay.
So it's fairly simple though to create the teacher accounts. Kevin, I'm going to make an account for you right now.
Okay.
Okay, and this is what the process will be. So I have clicked. I'm going to click on home just to take you through the steps. So I'm at home.
Okay.
I'm going down to users. I click on the users button. When it opens up, Riverton High School is already highlighted.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go over to the right-hand side. Anytime I want to do something, a task is going to be associated with this right-hand panel.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to this Create User wizard. I'm just going to click on Create User, and it opens up. Title, you could be Amazing, Awesome, or Mr., or whatever you want, or you can leave it blank. You don't have to have that. But I'm going to tab over, and I'm just going to fill in your name. And that's B-A-R-T-O-N, right?
Yes.
Display name is what we saw when the students went to log in. There's a little picture or a display of the container that they're going to be in. In that account, all we saw was Riverton High, and it was an administrative account, which we probably won't put students in that account. That's just an initial administrative account that we create so we can get things rolling. But your display name, we can make it Mr. Barton. We don't need a phone number. Your account name. So this is what I was referring to. So what is your email address?
Just kevin.barton@jordandistrict.org.
And then we're going to make you an administrator role. So we have the options here of administrator, teacher, and inactive. So administrator role. And then your password, I can just make it Kevin for now. You can always go back
change
and
it later.
Okay, so I'm just for now. And then once we've done that, that's everything. The last thing that you could do is create the image. Right now it has a little elephant next to you. Remember, once we move to the newer versions, these images will no longer
disappear.
be relevant, and you won't see them at all. So in the past, this was the part that would take the longest when I had a room full of teachers that all wanted to go through and find the absolute best little image to put in there.
Yeah.
Now keep in mind, you can also upload your own beautiful face and put it in there as well.
Scary.
So you can click on Add Photo, but we're going to make you the wise old elephant.
Works for me. Yeah.
Okay. So once we click OK, now you have an additional account sitting here. And if you wanted to go ahead and create an account for yourself, I don't know if you need one because you can just use that Riverton High one. So
Michelle, go ahead.
we could probably time this and see how long it takes to create an account, and it's pretty much less than 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
It's quick. And it's the same thing with student accounts. If you have few accounts, it's very, very quick to just go ahead and set up a few accounts manually.
What am I doing for password? Sorry.
Your password is whatever you want it to be.
I'll just do it. And you want me to be a teacher or administrator?
It depends on what function you're going to provide for Imagine Learning.
Let's put you as an administrator for now. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm going to keep that picture.
perfect. Now you have an account. Now you can log out. Right now you can see that you're logged in as Riverton High, but if you log out, you can subsequently log back in. Perfect. Now if you ever see this page where it says welcome, don't click on get started. That's how we would create a shortcut. So we don't need to do that. It's already created for you on these machines. But the next time you go to log in, your name will pre-populate and auto-fill in that account name, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, what if I screwed up?
Retyping it. It's a good learning opportunity here. So if you
Okay, maybe I did.
okay,
Maybe I put an extra space here. Hold on. No? That is it. Michelle.miles@jordandistrict.org.
You got 2 honors in there, it looks like, on Jordan District.
Oh, when I made my account?
Yeah.
okay, great. So now what can you do?
I can log back in
You've
as
already been
Riverton.
empowered. Perfect. You've already been empowered to fix the problem yourself. You know there's an administrative account already there. Sometimes that worked out perfect because sometimes I go in and I break people's accounts on purpose when they're not looking so that we can have this collaboration. Now you just earned yourself something here, buddy. Again, with just a few people involved in the training, we can be pretty personal. When it's a big group, a lot of times it's hard to get people engaged and to talk to me, right? So I always stop and I get truffles.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
these are my favorite. These are, you think I work for Lindt or something, but Lindt Lindor truffles are the best, by the way.
Yeah,
These are
I love 'em.
the two best. These are sea salt chocolate, and these are peanut butter. Which one would you prefer? You both participated, so you
Salt
get to.
chocolate.
Okay. So you both
I want to try one
participated.
of those too. That sounds good.
Dude, it's flavor crystals of salt in there. Just it's amazing. It's
They are
wonderful.
good.
I can't say enough about them. You bet. And if you're thirsty, there's a case of water there as well, and some. Also brought some of these pastries.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know how many people to expect, so if you want a little snack, then help yourself to it. Okay, so you're masters at creating accounts. Okay, and those at home, you can be a master too. All right, so we've already created the account. Next thing we want to do is we want to create students. So we have, go ahead and click on the students button. And we have 50 licenses, it looks like, did I say 50? We have 50 licenses available to the school. I don't know if you need 50 licenses, but they are there and they are available.
Okay.
Just
want to put in Jose
Okay.
because I know he's going to be using it.
So the information that you're going to
Probably.
need to create a student account is going to be their first and last name. Let's go through this systematically,
Oh,
just so we can get
sorry.
the folks.
I
who
just like
are-
to dive right in.
No,
Where do you want me to go right
you're,
now?
You're amazing and you're awesome, and you can tell that you're already like 10 steps ahead. But so what we've done so far is let's click on home. Maybe I'll go back up here again. We've clicked on home, and then we're clicking on set up students. So we're just clicking on the students button. Once we've clicked on the students button, we can see the different accounts that are available. We have the Kevin account, we have the Michelle account, we have the Riverton High account. The little plus sign next to it is an indicator that I have something I can do here. So if I put click the plus sign, I have a default My Students container. Now that My Students container can be edited to be named whatever we want it to be. Those students will see that if you have multiple containers under you. If you do not have multiple containers, they will never see what you change it to. If you have a single container, they won't see the name of it.
Okay.
But if you have one person administering all of the students, you could effectively create classrooms under one teacher
One
account.
teacher.
So you could have multiple classrooms or multiple periods depending on how you're managing the students. So if you know that you want to place a student in your My Students container, you would then highlight the My Students container. and then go to the right-hand side. And a couple things we can do here. Remember I mentioned we could edit it. Let's go ahead and click on the edit group. So here is where we could change the name of the particular container. We can change the default session time. Right now it's set to 30 minutes, which is what I would recommend leaving it at. But right now all of the print options are none. So that means the students will not get any printouts associated with our curriculum. If we do partial, it's going to give them kind of like attaboys. It'll give them a congratulations, Juan está completado 10 lesiones type of thing. If we do full, it'll give them those printouts
Full
as
feedback.
well as the other sheets that go along with what they're learning. So say, for example, we have a brand newcomer who is learning the very basics of our vocabulary. The very, very first vocabulary activity we have is duck, cat, bird, fish, dog. And at the end of that activity, they can print, and it has a printout worksheet that goes along with it that has the duck, cat, bird, fish, dog on it. There are some best practices associated with using those. A lot of districts, a lot of high schools won't use the printouts. But in the elementary situation, a best practice would be a teacher would take that printout, put it in a folder with the student's name on it, and quiz the student on those things prior to letting them go back on Imagine Learning. So if I know that I'm looking at this particular printout, and I ask Michelle, what is this animal? And it's a duck I'm pointing to, and she says it's a cat, then I know she doesn't have a good grasp on that particular vocabulary word. I want to talk one-on-one with her and provide the support that she needs going forward before she gets back on. Any questions about that? So once you've made the decisions about what you want to do under the group details, go ahead and click OK. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add a student to that container. So Michelle's clicked under the tasks on Add Student. Now we need to keep in mind that again, this is a district-wide implementation. So students could come from multiple junior highs, which they might have been in multiple elementary schools previously as well. So let's go ahead and under Add Student, we're going to search. There's a field, a search field here. We can search by their student name or their district ID. So let's just type in there Jose, because I think that's what you mentioned
Yeah.
before.
Should I do his whole name?
Jose, yeah. do it.
Just type Jose. I
Pineda.
want you to, and then we've clicked on search or we hit enter, and it's going to give us a list of a bunch of Jose's. So if you know his district ID, that's going to be the most effective way to add the student if he already exists. Because if he already exists in the database, you will not be able to create him and add him to your account. So you have to find out if he
Want me to
is
have Jill
there
look up his
already.
student number?
Well, I'm thinking he just barely moved from Peru, or no.
We'll go ahead and type his
Guatemala.
last name and try
I thought I did.
without
nothing
his
came
first
up.
name.
Oh,
Try it
without
without
the
his first name, yeah.
Okay. I hope it's spelling
Yes.
it right. Do you think it's Pineda? Is that how you?
I thought it was.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Pretty
so-
safe to say he's not in there. However, you will need his district ID in order to create the new account.
Okay.
So if you don't
Should we
have
grab
that,
it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
let's-
Jill, could you look up Jose Pineda? Is that how you say
Pineda.
that?
Yeah.
And get his student ID for us?
Jose Pineda.
Oh, look, he does a little Spanish.
Pineda.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's more Portuguese than Spanish.
Should I hit create student while she's doing that? And
Yeah,
fill the
you
other,
can, you can
other
go ahead and
things?
do that, and we can talk about each of these fields. So last name is required, first name is required.
Do you want to print off his profile and bring it over?
So the password here, what I typically do is whatever the student ID is, I match that to the password. Students should know their student ID at this level anyway. Even I argue that even kindergartners can enter in their district ID. I'm not easy on them, but you don't have to have a password in place here. It's not recommended. Because if two students were going back and forth using each other's curriculum, this is a differentiated curriculum. We have multiple strands that the student could potentially be in, and no two students are going to be exactly in the same place.
I don't know if that's what you're looking for at the other page.
No, this would be great. Just got it.
Okay, perfect. So if you do it
Oh, whoops.
trying to let them
There
look.
we go.
So if you do it in the password and then you copy and paste it into the student ID,
Do we know it's the same one?
going forward, when we move to a newer edition, there will be another field that will show up. Right now we have preferred name, we have student ID. There will be another field called account name. That account name will be their student ID. It'll automatically be copied from whatever is currently in the student ID field. And that's what there's two unique identifiers in the new version. The student ID is the ultimate identifier, and you can't match anyone else's. The account name is another unique identifier, which also can't match anyone else's, but you can change that without changing the whole account.
No.
Okay, so now we have grade level. Grade level, great. You chose grade 10. Remember, I said the curriculum goes up to about 6th grade level. We are constantly adding new curriculum. We do always want you to choose the grade level the student is currently in, not where you think they're working. We let our placement test do that work and decide where they need to be within the curriculum strands. Under language, you've chosen Spanish as language support. Now, let me explain a little bit about what language support does. So language support, it's scaffolded. It's not going to...
Attention Whitney Gilman, if you could please move your silver F-150, that would be nice. Whitney Gilman off the range. Also, we have a white RAV4 with no student sticker, license plate X962PV. That RAV4 will be towed in the next 15 minutes.
If they say anything about a
So
silver
please come
Sentra,
move it. Thank you.
I'm running the motor.
Hey, no.
So they're not going to have the fullness of the language support forever. It's going to start out with a lot of support. It's going to the introduction to our program is going to be in their native language. The directions as to how to do particular activities will start out in their native language the first time they get to that type of activity. The next time they get to it, it'll be in English with a button to translate. After that, unless they sit there for an extended period of time, it's going to only be in English. If they sit there for a while, it might come back and prompt them and say something in their native language again to get them to get back on task. Difficult concepts to explain in English, it'll give it to them in their native language as well. I mean, things like rhyming. And rhyming is not taught in all languages, so we things like that we'll give it to them in their native language. New sounds and similar sounds will also be in their native language. So, for example, unless you're from Spain, the th sound is not a sound that most Spanish speakers around here are going to use. And so we'll explain that the th in thumb or thimble or thick is a new sound for them. But a similar sound might be the ch in chaqueta is the same as like ch in chair or chicken or chimpanzee. Gender, yeah, you're going to pick the appropriate gender for the student. The image is whatever image you want the student to associate with. You can add a photo, as I mentioned before. If you have photos in your SIS or something that you want to download and upload into here, you can do that. You certainly don't need to. It's not a requirement. Under student type, we have 3 things here. None of those will affect the way the students receive anything about the program. That is pure statistics for us. So at a minimum, your students who are using this program should at least have that checkbox next to the English language learner or English learner. But they also might happen to fall in the category of struggling reader or a student with a disability.
I would say I don't think so. I mean, he's passing math right now, so he's getting it a little bit, but...
So here, the last thing we have here is we have this placement test / assessment test. Now, we don't ever want to uncheck this. We always want the students to receive the assessment test. This is what's going to determine what they need, and going forward they will be able to receive the curriculum based on that assessment test. Okay. Once we move to the new version, all of the students who are uploaded will receive a new assessment test, because our assessment test only gets better. And we can talk about that. I can come back and do some additional training on anything that changes. So we'll just cross that bridge as it comes. I guess there was one more thing here. We did set the session time on the container itself, but you can change individual students so that they have more or less time than the rest of the students in the group. Okay? So if you notice that the student is extremely engaged and they're just eating it up and doing really well with it, you can up their time to 40 minutes or 45 minutes. Now, I went into a school recently and they had one of their students, and this kid was a 6th grader or 5th grader, and this teacher had him set to 120 minutes, and I had to tell her, you know, it's a great program, but there's something called overkill. We don't want to bore the student to death, and 120 minutes, I think, my attention span is not 120 minutes. I like Netflix, 43 minutes, no commercials. I'm done with an episode of Criminal Minds. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've created everything you need to for the student. You click OK, and now this student is ready to go. Right now, the student could sit down at this computer right here, enter in their student number, click on their account, and they're ready to go. Let's take a look at what that looks like. If you would like to, just go ahead and X out.
Extra logout.
Let's X out, because if you log out, it's going to take you back to the page that says Get Started.
Okay.
And let's relaunch the Imagine Learning shortcut. And what you'll see now is you'll see here is Mr. Barton's container. Let's click on his. We'll notice there's nothing in his. Okay, these little breadcrumbs here. We click back. You are so good, I tell you. So here he is. You clicked on your name, and now we have Jose sitting here. And he's got his icon there. So no matter which computer he sits down at, he'll be able to find his icon and get started, get going on the program.
Perfect.
Any questions about that? Excellent, excellent. Okay. So let's go ahead and log back in.
Do you have a demo of what the kids are going to see by chance?
Yeah, I can show you, I can give you little snippets of the different activities, starting with the very beginning with letter recognition. I can skip through some of that because a lot of these kids, I mean, he's a 10th grader. He probably is okay with his letters, so he'll probably test right out of that. But I can just give you a little snapshot. And I do have a presentation that I can pull up and show a few things to you. You can see as it progresses on. I can also show you that we have an activity menu. The activity menu, let's just touch on that real quick before I pull up and this might satisfy what you're looking for here.
Okay.
But this activity menu, it's just saying there's no default recording device on here. Speaking of, you're going to want to have headphones and a microphone for each of the machines that your students are using Imagine Learning on.
And we did get them.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. So here it's broken down into level 1 and level 2. This is kind of, it roughly maps out what I was referring to earlier about Bix versus Calp. So here we have our Imagine Island, and this is going to be all of the lower level information for the students, their basic building up vocabulary, letter recognition, things like that. And then as they progress on, they move to what we call the Imagine Museum, which has a little more of an older look and feel for the students. Again, geared more towards the younger students, but as I mentioned before, we have if there's a need for these students, they're going to get it. So if he takes the placement test and receives curriculum, we know that the program will benefit the student. Put it that way. So let's start by just clicking on this activity menu. And here are the categories that the students will be receiving information from. Remember, what we're looking at right now, this is the teacher's way to look and see what type of curriculum we have in place. Students don't go through this. They don't get to pick and choose what they want, but a teacher could go in just to see the types of activities. And, you know, if you find something, if you're working as a whole group instruction for your ESL students, then they could go in and find a particular lesson and present to the entire class, or work at a small group, or however you want to do it. But for example, let's just start with really young and we'll work our way up. Let's just do it this way. So if you clicked here, this is Free the Aliens. Free the Aliens is a great letter. Now, Michelle, what is your favorite letter?
Oh, let's see, M.
You see that right here? So for those of you Who didn't see that? Good call, right?
It was a good call.
It was.
Okay, so go ahead and click on the letter M. And is there any? There's no speakers on there.
No, I can hear it kind of.
So what it's saying is free the aliens trapped in the craters. And all you have to do is click on the letter that you're supposed to click on. This is for that rapid automation of letter recognition. So the focus here, if I say the letter M, I know as soon as that letter that's shaped like an M comes up, I know that's an M and I can name it right away. So that's what the goal is. So as you do really well, and I want you to do really well, you'll see that this ramps up and it'll start throwing down a lot of stuff pretty quick. And it's trying to confuse you. But I want you to mess up. Now,
Okay.
it's going to slow down, mess up 3 times. See how quick it slowed down? And it's going to start dropping a lot more M's for you to set kids up for success. Now, I have 5 kids, okay? And I know none of them like to lose at games. And I'm pretty sure that's standard across the boards, okay? Anywhere from my 16-year-old to my 5-year-old, they all like to win. I don't let them win, by the way. I'm very competitive, and I make them earn their win. Okay, so if you want to get out of this, we're just going to hit escape, and we're going to stop that session. And it'll take us back to this main menu. So actually, we wanted to be in here, but let's jump over to this, the Imagine Museum, so we can see a little bit what the difference is here. So all of our vocabulary is front-loaded before we are testing them on anything. Before they're receiving books with these big vocabulary words or academic vocabularies, we're teaching it to them. So it's not going to be a surprise to them once they get to certain things. And we do this through different activities. And this is all of our, you can see academic vocabulary here. If you wanted to go back to where we just were with the Free the Eggs, I know you like that game, we could click on, don't do it, we could click here and it would take us back to the level 1 menu. But for example, right now we're under academic vocabulary. It's noted here at the top. And here are the different types of activities. Let's go down here and click on this one. This was Mel. And he introduces words, and sometimes it's pretty funny. Let's go ahead and scroll all the way down. I like this one. Specific and previous. I like this one. So this is introducing 2 new vocabulary words. We're gonna choose specific.
Click a word.
Let's do specific.
Specific. Specific means detailed or exact. Say specific.
Now this is where everyone says
Specific. Yeah.
Click here.
So you're going to click through each of these 3 and you're going to get different types of...
Specific has the opposite meaning of general. Specific and general are antonyms. The general location of Mumbai is India, but the specific location is right here.
Click here.
Do you want me to keep going?
Yes. You can stop after this one. This one's funny.
What? I told you we were supposed to dress up today.
I did dress up. You should have been more specific about the meaning of dress up.
Okay, so...
Click here.
What is 6? Yeah. Oh, no, it's not.
What are you looking for?
Well, it should. Maybe you guys have some things mapped different.
Click here.
The number 6 should used to take us out, so I guess we'll have to do... Click on the screen here. Okay. It should take you back. Either F6 or the number 6 should take you back. And maybe there's some things set.
That are different.
Yeah. So, if you wanted to continue to go through, I would just recommend if teachers want to see all of the types of activities, maybe let's get to one that's a little bit more in depth, maybe a little more deeper in curriculum. So let's go back into the start, the activity menu again. And let's do maybe compare and contrast. And here, we can click here and see. All right, so we can see as we scroll down, we'll see the different grade levels. We have basic, below basic, and then as they move up, they'll have higher grade level materials. But let's go ahead and, if you can take it all the way to the bottom, let's just look at below basic for Japan disaster.
Answer on your own. Now that you've read the articles, it's time to answer the questions you saw earlier. Here is your first question. You can look at any page in the articles to find the answer. Click the articles to see them full size.
So what I like about this is it does allow the students to do that look-back method. It allows them to go back and reread what they've already read to find the answer, which is a great strategy for them to find information. So what is the same in both articles you read? People camped out together, orphans read letters from other kids, a tsunami caused a lot of damage. So we can go back and click and see, and you can advance through the book by using the arrows. So at this point, the students would have been required to have read what's in the material here. Now, if they come to one of these bold words, there's a vocabulary word that they've already learned. That you can click on this word. Go ahead and click on remained. Okay, maybe that's not one of them.
Maybe I have to be added smaller.
No, there are some that are bold. Maybe that's just not one of them. And maybe this particular activity is not going to allow us to do it. But there are a lot of activities that give an option to click on the vocabulary word, and then it gives us a pop-out, and it will tell us more information about that particular vocabulary word. As they learn new vocabulary, it gets added to their vocab toolbox. So go ahead and let's go ahead and try answering a question. Let's randomly pick one. Let's just say people camped out together.
No, that's not right. Reread the articles to see which idea is in both of them. Click here when you're ready to turn the page.
So it didn't just tell us, no, that's not the right answer. It gave us an opportunity to go, and it pointed directly to where it is the student had to go. Try clicking on it now and see if it...
Go back to it when it seemed like it was orange. No.
A lot of them will. I'm not sure if it's just this particular activity. Okay, so go ahead and close out.
Click
And
the right answer.
try that one.
That's correct. Here is your next question. Click the right answer.
And so based on they've read multiple articles, I mean, this is starting to get a little bit further, you know, and they're not going to just start right off on this. I'm guaranteeing they're going to have a lot of build-up to get to this type of material. But they would have two different articles that they've read, and then they have to compare and contrast them to answer these types of questions. Any questions about the activities? There's so many activities. There's hundreds of activities to be able to go through, and again, it is progressive. They're going to
go through it.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and let's go back to the main menu, and I want to show you some other information. There's reports that we are going to be able to utilize to help the students out. Let's go ahead and click on Home. Now these reports, there's not going to obviously be any student information in there right now.
Last call for the white Toyota RAV4, license plate X962PV. It will be towed in the next 5 minutes.
Wow. Okay. So after students have been using the program for a little while, teachers will have a chance to go back and listen to recordings, as well as look at reports to provide timely interventions for the students. Now the recordings are fun in that you can hear a change in fluency over time. One of my first trainings that I did, I was up in a little town north of Boston. It was called Lynn, Massachusetts. I don't know if you've ever heard of Lynn, but it was an interesting place. And this guy had been using the program as an after-school program, and he had this group of kids on for up to that point about 20 hours worth of time. And I said, hey, Jerry, can you give me a name of a student? He pointed out this girl's name, and I said, okay, well, don't ever do this. Okay, I'll explain why. It happened to work out well for me this time. But I clicked on one of the recordings for this girl when she first started. Her fluency was pretty broken. It was like any other student I had heard up to that point who just didn't have the fluency that was you would normally see of like a third or fourth grader. And I listened to one of the recordings and played it for this group of teachers that was from about 19 hours into the program. And there was such a dramatic change. I looked over and Jerry's mouth was just wide open. All these teachers, because there was teachers from all over the district in this training, and they were all like, wow. You know, you can tell there are changes that are happening, but when you are comparing side by side and you can listen to those two, it's pretty awesome. I had a not so fortunate event take place where I was in Virginia doing a training, and I randomly selected a student without listening to it ahead of time, and it went a little something like this. I clicked on it, and there was silence, followed by and I about fell over. And this was a principals meeting. I had about I don't know, maybe a dozen principals from across this district in my meeting, and I was just, I don't get embarrassed very easily. I really, really don't. And I think if asked, Jeff, have you with Imagine Learning, what was your most embarrassing moment? That was probably it. But it has made for great storytelling ever since. It really has. Okay, so we have reports. If you click on reports, you're going to see there are 2 group reports and 2 individual reports. If we click on these things, we can go through the motions. There's obviously not going to be any information here. I'll see if I have one of my newer training manuals that I can just reference, and we'll hold it up and we can look at that together. But we'll go through the process of how to access them. And I'll tell you what I do from here. I always like to look at this group summary report. If you have multiple students in your class and you just want to get a snapshot of how well they're doing, that's the report I would look at. I'd look at that group summary report first. What it does, and if you want to go ahead and click on it, once we click on it, that would kind of be step 1. Step 2 is we're going to choose the class that we want to look at. So for you, Michelle, you would just put a checkbox in here. And then we have a few options. We could have no identifying information for the students, but for most everything that you guys are going to be doing, you're just going to leave it as default, and then you would click on View Report, which you don't need to do because nothing's going to come up right now. There's no data. So let me look in my backpack real quick and see what I have with me. Okay, we can use this. Okay. Let's take a look at it. All right, so what we're looking at here is a group summary report. The first column is the students identifying information, followed by the amount of time that the students have spent in the program. After that, we have each of the categories that the student will encounter as they go through their curriculum. If you see a plus sign, that means they tested out of it. If it's a dash, they have not encountered it yet. And you'll see percentages, and you'll have a ratio there. Now, I'm going to step away from here for a second, and I'm going to show this. I'm going to hold it up so that you can all look at this. So what I like to do in looking at this particular report is I quickly scan over and I look for low percentages. Michelle, do you see a low percentage there anywhere?
These percentages right here?
Yeah, so just let's start with maybe like this column here. And do you see any low percentages?
No, they look really good. 86 is the lowest one I see. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, here, start with this. There's a pretty good one that's tanked here.
There's 57, there's 58, those two seem pretty low.
Okay, I agree with you on that. So these are different students who are struggling. There's one that has 58%, which it is 53 out of 91. That means that they have received 91 items in the curriculum for phonological awareness. And they've only demonstrated proficiency over 53 of the 91, which equates out to that low percentage of 58%. Keep in mind that a 1 out of 2 is a 50%. and so is a 50 out of 100. I'm not so worried about a student. If the numerator and denominator are still pretty low, I'm not really worried about it too much unless it becomes a trend like this has for this student. But what I don't know about this, I do know that it's phonological awareness in that column, but what I don't know is it blending, is it rhyming, is it segmenting, where exactly in the curriculum is it that they're struggling? I just know the general, which in terms of ELL students, very, very, very common. I mean, across the state, across the country, their phonological awareness scores are typically low, okay? So I then, once I note that this student, who in this example happens to be Michaela Jones, and this is a fictitious student, we're not going to talk about real students here, but Michaela Jones has a pretty low, and so does Jose Plancarte Ramirez. So we're going to look up these two students and cross-reference what's going on with these students. Now, back over to the main menu here with the reports. We had this group summary. At the very bottom, we have an individual detailed report. So I know the students I want to focus on, right? So now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to expand the little plus sign, and if my students container was not expanded, I would expand it to see all of my students, and I'd put a checkbox next to the two students that I had questions, Michaela and Jose. And then I would do a report from them. Now there's a couple options in this third column here. One is a history ranging from. So students could be in the database for multiple years, but I'm only interested in looking at what the student was working with this school year. So I would change my history ranging from, and I would look at around, I think about August 19th, 20th, something like that, which was the beginning of the school year. And I would also choose, okay, yeah, so.
Do you want me to do it or not really?
You don't have to. Again, it's not going to pull. We're going to look at the actual report on here. So then you would go to, after you click on history ranging from the original date or the start date, then you would finish with today's date. Just the opposite of that, you could click on complete history and it would give everything. But down here it says show only unmastered skills. So what that's going to do is if you ran it with showing only unmastered skills, it would make it a nice tidy report that's showing me only the items that the student did not demonstrate proficiency over. Instead of looking at everything they did and did get and understand and everything they didn't get, it's just going to narrow it down to only the things you need to focus on helping them out with. Okay? Which that's going to look like this. And I'll bring this up here. So at the top of this report, we have some identifying information for the student. And as we go down, we can see the curriculum area in the first column, the lesson they were working on, the date that they did it, the skill they were working on, as well as the details of that skill. Down to, for example, the bold items just happen to be inferential questions for this particular student. So this student obviously is struggling with correctly answering questions that they have to make an inference from. So Michelle, I'm going to step back over here, and you can see again, I was mentioning that here's the bolded items, the inferential. But anything that's bolded are things that the student did not demonstrate mastery or proficiency over. Does that all make sense? Okay, now we're going to go back and we have two other reports, one in each of the categories, group and individual summary. So this usage report, we don't even need to go into that. All it does is it tells us the amount of time spent in the program, number of sessions run for the program, number of days run, averages, things like that. So if you have a number of students who you want to monitor and you just want to make sure that, at a high level, make sure that they are getting on the program, then you would just run that report, and if you know that we're about, 28 weeks into the school year right now, they should, if they're doing it at least an hour a week, you can cut out the week for spring break, cut out the week for Christmas, and you should probably at least have 25, 26 hours worth of time spent on the program at this point in the school year. Very unlikely that that's actually going to happen. Because it's tough. It really is. We understand teachers have things that they're doing and schedules, and you really do have to make it a priority to have time spent on it, because time spent in the program is going to equate out to progress. That's really what it boils down to. The last was the individual summary report. individual summary report has some nice information in it, but it's a lot like what we were looking at before. It's a high level, but it can show, I don't know, Kevin, if you can see this or not.
Yeah.
I'll hold it here and let you do the zooming.
Okay.
For example, this particular student is a third grade student who, when they tested in a kindergarten level. So everything that's blue with the plus signs means they tested out of that, but they started still in a kindergarten level. Everything that has blue but white numbers in it, that means they have finished that portion of the curriculum. Anything that is gray, that means that's where they're currently working in the curriculum. So if I, at a high level, look and see low percentages there, I know that that student wasn't doing very well. Now, the whole idea to this is actively monitoring the reports. And now I'm going to show you one more tool before we're done with this, which is called the Action Areas tool, which is going to help us to be able to provide a timely intervention for the student by giving us links to those. Remember the activity menu we were just looking at when we started out? It's going to give us links to the activity menu to work one-on-one with the students, as well as those printouts that I was talking about. It'll give you some printouts to print out, give to the student to have them work on it. Now, the information that the Action Areas tool is going to show is not going to be new information for the student, but it does give you a chance to what I like to call fold paper with the student. Oftentimes I'll do a demonstration with teachers that I give Michelle a piece of paper and I say, Michelle, I want you to make what I'm making here. So we start folding paper and I'm moving so fast. When I'm done, I have this really awesome origami looking rocket ship, and you will have about 6 or 7 folds correct, and then you'll get frustrated because I'm talking so fast, I'm moving so fast, and you'll just give up. Well, that's what happens with kids a lot of times. They're working through, and if there's some foundational skill they didn't get, well, they'll fold a couple pieces, and then they just give up. So this Action Areas tool that I'm going to talk about in a minute, it's going to give you a chance to fold that paper nice and slow together so that in the end you have the desired result. But here again, just moving back to this, this is showing us that this student tested completely out of basic oral vocabulary, and in academic vocabulary started at about lesson 29, and then you can see the percentages and how much they've completed, but they still have a lot of curriculum left to go through in academic vocabulary. Last page is just, again, it's pretty intuitive. It's showing you here's the number in that particular area that they were taught versus what they demonstrated proficiency over. So, okay. Give me just a second. I want to see if I can pull up the Action Areas tool. Newer versions will have it embedded right into the reports, so you don't have to go, but as we are right here, we'll have to go external from that main menu to be able to get to it. It's been a while since I've had to pull up from this way. I need to log into my own profile real quick. You want to take like a 2-minute break?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, but I've got 10. I got to pick him up before 4.
You've
and
got
get
to pick
charged
him up.
more. Yeah, so it's 10 to 4. Well, there'll be a lot more in about.
So, as soon as I'm done with this Action Areas tool, we'll call it a day. And you know, are we still recording?
We are.
Okay. So just, you know, the key thing that I want you to walk away from here is, again, I mentioned before, but I want to mention again, that anytime anyone has questions, I want you to call me. I'm happy to come back and work one-on-one with any of the teachers who, maybe this is not the way that you learn, standing, you know, listening to me talking to a camera. I'm a very hands-on learner.
Yeah.
You know, I would need to be sitting here like Michelle is and drive along to get it and understand it. I need to fold that paper for myself to really figure it out. If I could even log into my own. Oh, you know what?
I think most of us are. That's why. Hopefully this is helpful, though.
It's, you know, I was talking to my son. My oldest boy's 15, and I was talking to him about it. And I said, Preston, I said, what? how do you learn the best? I said, what about if you read something? He said, no, if someone's reading it to me, I learn the best. So he's auditory. And I don't understand that. I would have to read it myself versus that, but I need to be touching it, feeling it, doing it to really understand it. So, I mean, it really is true. People learn in so many different ways. It's just amazing. You guys ever done this Kahoot? Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. We did an activity last night, and I had all of my kids sitting around with phones and iPods and stuff, and my son pulled up a Kahoot pre-made set of questions, and we all went against each other. And it brings a question up, and then on your device you have A, B, C, or D, and the answers are up on the board accordingly, and whoever chimes in first. It's pretty cool. I guess a lot of schools are using it in the classroom. It's kind of neat. Okay, let me see if I can...
Kind of feel bad. I found out about this on the Disneyland ride. What was it? What is it? The Toy Story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there were a bunch of kids playing it on their electronic device, so I just challenged my kids to it. They killed me, but hey.
Let me try it again. So if you ever come across a machine that you want to access Imagine Learning from and it doesn't have the shortcut, you can go to Dave, or you can just type in right in the URL, it's imaginelearning.jsd.ad, and once you hit enter, it'll bring up that welcome page. And in the upper right-hand corner, we'll have that manager login that we've used earlier. Okay, I'm gonna have to send you a link to the Action Areas tool for your district.
Okay.
But what it will do is I can show you what it looks like under a different, pay no mind to the URL I'm about to type in, by the way. This is more of what it's going to look like when you move to the new version. It's going to use Unity to stream instead of Silverlight.
So does that require the web plugin, the browser plugin?
Yeah,
it will have to.
We can package it in an MSI. If you go to the cloud, we have native apps and things that we can use. We have apps for I guess you guys are all PCs in here, but we do have a native Windows app. But like I said, I'll get you a link to the Action Areas tool.
And this is compatible with iPad, isn't it?
Well, this version does not have the fully sequenced version of Imagine Learning. So
Okay.
you would be able to access the activity menu from the iPad. You'd be able to also access, I think, the Action Areas, but not the students logging in and getting their full sequenced version. My laptop is acting up here, guys. Let me see if I can. You know what? Am I even on your?
I don't think you are, yeah.
Connected.
Is it the JSD guest? Is that the one you're connected to?
Now keep in mind here, I'm traveling across to someone else's stuff. Yeah, I think I'm getting blocked by
By our district.
Yeah. Make you this deal.
Wouldn't
though.
be a surprise.
Here's what we're gonna do. Here's the commitment to make. We get the kids rolling. Okay, the last thing we want to do is get the kids on the program and never go back and look at reports, because that's just babysitting students with the program. We don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
So get the students on, have them use it, get some time under their belt, and then, you know, we'll probably won't get a whole lot of time for the remainder of the school year, but come the fall time, you'll have the students the chance to really get moving. Teachers who watch this, and you know, if they have questions, again, contact me, please. But if you feel confident and comfortable getting the students created and up and running, go ahead and do it. I will come back. I'll be happy to come back and work with the teachers and maybe even do another training with people here, and we can go through some real live data, because when you internalize that data, it always makes a difference.
Yeah.
You're seeing, oh, this is my student, and I know that I can go help this student with whatever they're struggling with. So for me, that always, I don't think we're going to get anywhere with this.
Okay.
I do apologize for that, but I think I am being blocked, unfortunately. So takeaway for today is, let's go ahead and get students created. Use that administrative account that we talked about in the very beginning, that Riverton High password Imagine Learning, to create your own account. Your account will be your email address. Let's go ahead and get your own account created, and then start adding students and put them on. Your ELL students, we're going to recommend getting as close to, this is going to sound like a lot, but 100 minutes a week, as close to that as possible. That is, the state has some requirements that they throw out there, or what they think should be recommended, but that's roughly about what's going to get them moving and progressing as fast as possible without it being overkill. We usually would say between 80 to 120 minutes, depending on the student's age. So that 100-minute mark is pretty good. And if you're getting the students on 3 days a week, 30 minutes a day, or 4 days a week for 30 minutes a day, that's 120 minutes for the week. So that's a lot of time, and it can be done. It's done in other places, and I know that you guys can do it too. So please let me know if you have any questions. Do you have any questions for me right now?
Not at this time.
Okay, all right. It's kind of late in the day and probably ready to go home.
That's for sure. Thanks, Jeff, for doing this.
Not a problem. Would you guys care for one of these? I know I brought them. Anyone at home?
Maybe.
These are amazing. Yeah, I'm. Like I said, I'm happy to do whatever you guys want me to do anytime.
Okay. We'll look to maybe call you back on a future training to get these teachers that want this information.
Yeah.
To get them started, get them going.
Perfect. Care for another? Do you want to try the peanut butter one?
Yeah, I'll try the peanut butter one.
Okay.
They are the best, though, Lindorf.
Oh, they're so good. Try one of these, man. I'm vicariously